Hey everyone, it's your girl Tia, the Unorthodox Counselor. Thank you for checking back into the channel of the unseen and the unheard. This is the place where your grief is heard and your soul is seen, because guess what? I see you, baby. So let's go ahead and let's tap in. Let's discuss silent grief. This is something that truly comes creeping in your life like the boogeyman in the middle of the night. Totally unexpected. Have your nervous system completely out of whack. All right, you cannot even think, function, process what is happening, because all of a sudden every emotion and feeling that you have ever experienced just comes rushing at you at one time, and it becomes overwhelming. It's this dreadful ass feeling of anger, resentment, hurt, pain, low self-esteem, depression, anxiety. You know, there definitely could be some additional mental health issues lingering in there with bipolar and stuff like that. Silent grief is so unexpected that it's fucking creepy. It's creepy. But to know grief and loss is also to know love. Silent grief definitely, it doesn't come with a warning. That's why it's called silent grief. There's no warning. There's no SOS. There's no bird call. You know, ooh, none of that shit going on. Even like one of those dreams, right? Where you have those dreams where you're running and you feel like you're like hauling ass in that dream, but you're not moving, and it seems like whatever is behind you chasing you is slowly creeping up to you, no matter how fast you running. You cannot outrun grief. It's impossible. You have to learn to walk with it. You have to learn to accept it is part of the healing journey. It is part of life. It is just part of how we are to understand love, okay? Because you cannot know love without knowing loss, without knowing any type of pain. Because when you experience that pain, and then the way that grief comes, you know you have really tapped into some real deep emotional things that you need to deal with and work on and process, so that you could really work with your emotions and your feelings as you move forward in your journey of trying to understand what it is that you feeling and you got going on, because it can be confusing. I mean, you're feeling all this nostalgia going on. Then, you know, you're happy one minute, you're angry the next, you're questioning all these things. And when I talk about grief in itself, I'm not talking about the type of grief that when we really lose a loved one and, you know, we got the whole funeral ceremony going on, and the repast and the burial and the bringing the fried chicken and the collards and the Popeyes and, you know, the donuts and all that to the house so the family can eat. I'm not talking about that grief. I'm talking about the type of grief that when you go through that breakup, you mourn that relationship, the coulda, woulda, shouldas. You mourn the plans you guys had together, knowing that you still see this person around here and there, or whenever. You could see them every day, periodically, every other, whenever. It doesn't matter. They're still alive around here, and they are not able to be in your presence. You and this person are no longer connected. You know, that's painful for some people, but people don't really look at that as grief. Sometimes they just think, oh, we broke up, they mad. But them late nights, when you really sitting down, laying in the bed, or just the day done simmered down, and you kick back your feet and you start processing your day, a lot of stuff that was buried and going back there starts surfacing. it really starts creeping up through the crevices, you know, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, you're thinking of all these memories and all this stuff, and then you think of, you know, how, you know, a relationship is like, put it like this, relationships are beautiful. I mean, we're supposed to have relationships and we're supposed to have connections. That's the way we're really designed to be, whether we choose to do it or not, because some people don't want to be bothered, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. With silent grief, the nervous system begins to feel detached and dissociated. That shit is such a shock to the mind and the body, and real talk is really a shock to the soul, because that grief and pain, if you do what you're supposed to do and work through it, you're gonna transmute all of that, you're gonna alchemize all of that, and you're gonna be able to evolve as a person, as a soul. So when you're dealing with silent grief, the nervous system experiences a level of dissociation. Okay, it just feels so detached, like all of a sudden you just like, you could want intimacy, right, but your body completely rejects it. It rejects the person, rejects like, you don't want to be touched, you don't want to be bothered, you're just like, Hey everyone, it's your girl Tia, the Unorthodox Counselor. Thank you for checking into the channel of the unseen and the unheard. This is the safe space where your grief is heard and your soul is seen, because guess what? I see you, baby. So let's go ahead and tap into this next discussion regarding silent grief. Silent grief is like, the best way I can describe it would be, silent grief is like the boogeyman that comes in the middle of the night. It truly just creeps in. It's like having that dream where, you know, you running, you hauling ass and shit, going. You think you going. You bouncing, right? But you running in place like you're not moving, but you giving all your energy to keep going and going, because something is chasing you from behind and you don't even excuse me. Something is chasing you from behind and you're just like, I gotta get out of here. I don't know what it is. I just gotta go. It's scary. Okay? But what happens is, that silent grief that comes creeping like that will give you a deep wave of emotions and feelings and nostalgia that you will just be like stuck, almost like you feel like a level of paralysis. Your body you're just like, oh my God. All of a sudden you're just frozen and processing everything, like everything's coming. Feelings, emotions, thoughts, everything is everywhere. You just like, am I bugging? Why am I feeling this way? Maybe it's been some time, maybe it's fresh, but a lot of times grief just comes in. Like, you got to deal with it at some point, no matter what it is. You cannot outrun grief, basically. You cannot outrun grief. That shit is coming to get you, to make you learn how to work with it. Grief wants to work with you, not against you. Grief is here to help you grow, because you cannot know love without knowing grief and loss. You cannot. Because how would you really know what good love is versus bad love? How would you know? You wouldn't know if you didn't experience loss. So throughout life, we're always going to experience grief, loss, hurt, pain. And life is just really about being loving, kind, compassionate, okay? Helping the next person. The best way I can describe it would be, silent grief is like the boogeyman that comes in the middle of the night. It truly just creeps in. It's like having that dream where, you know, you running, you hauling ass and shit, going. You think you going. You bouncing, right? But you running in place like you're not moving, but you giving all your energy to keep going and going because something is chasing you from behind and you don't even... Something is chasing you from behind and you're just like, I gotta get out of here. I don't know what it is. I just gotta go. It's scary. Okay? But what happens is that silent grief that comes creeping like that will give you a deep wave of emotions and feelings and nostalgia that you will just be like stuck, almost like you feel like a level of paralysis. Your body you're just like, oh my God. All of a sudden you're just frozen and processing everything, like everything's coming. Feelings, emotions, thoughts, everything is everywhere. You just like, am I bugging? Why am I feeling this way? Maybe it's been some time, maybe it's fresh, but a lot of times grief just comes in. Like, you got to deal with it at some point, no matter what it is. You cannot outrun grief. Basically, this you cannot outrun grief. That shit is coming to get you, to make you learn how to work with it. Grief wants to work with you, not against you. Grief is here to help you grow, because you cannot know love without knowing grief and loss. You cannot. Because how would you really know what good love is versus bad love? How would you know? You wouldn't know if you didn't experience loss. So throughout life, we're always going to experience grief, loss, hurt, pain. And life is just really about being loving, kind, compassionate, okay? Helping the next person. Life is about love, loss, acceptance, grief, healing, forgiveness. That is part of the process. Life is about love, loss, grief, healing, and acceptance. That sounds like the gist of it to me, because this seems like that's the fucking cycle. But okay. So anyhow, these things are just a cycle that goes and goes and goes. And you can't run from any of it. You have to learn to really just roll with it, they say. Like, be in the moment and work with it. Because there is no real true working through it. It's part of you. It just is. So you gotta work with it. And I know listen, my views, I have a lot of views on things I do not discuss. I do not discuss. And I could agree to disagree. And I'm definitely open to comments about it, because I just don't see it no other way. Because it's just a cycle that every species experience. Love, loss, grief, heal, like the whole fucking kit and caboodle. Life is about love, loss, grief, healing, and acceptance. That sounds like the gist of it to me, because this seems like that's the fucking cycle. But okay. So anyhow, these things are just a cycle that goes and goes and goes. And you can't run from any of it. You have to learn to really just roll with it, they say. Like, be in the moment and work with it. Because there is no real true working through it. It's part of you. It just is. So you gotta work with it. And I know it's listen, my views, I have a lot of views on things I do not discuss. I do not discuss. And I could agree to disagree, and I'm definitely open to comments about it because I just don't see it no other way. Because it's just a cycle that every species experience. Love, loss, grief, heal, like the whole fucking kit and caboodle. So my view on life is that, life is about love, loss, grief, acceptance, and forgiveness. It's the same cycle that just keeps going. But as you keep working with this cycle that you will continue to go through, it gets better for you as you're working with it. Okay, you are helping others as you are healing and mastering this life during this time, and what you need to work on and work with. The body definitely experience a nervous shock and you can feel very dissociated from your own body. Like, for instance, your body could truly be wanting, like your mind, the nervous system, in regards to the nervous system and silent grief, it definitely affects, silent grief affects the nervous system in ways in which, it could silent grief can affect the nervous system in ways where, if you're in a relationship, this is an example. If you're in a relationship and the mind could want the intimacy, right? But the body is actually rejecting the connection, the intimacy within the connection, right? Which means that, let's say a man could have erectile dysfunction, all of a sudden he can't perform. It's not working. It won't work. It can't work. But he swear for the life of God, he gonna make it work. He can do it, and it's not doing anything. But now on the flip side, for a woman, she could get touched and all of a sudden her whole body shut down. Where down there, now for a woman, an example for a woman would be, she in her mind, she's ready for intimacy, then she gets touched, all of a sudden her whole body frees up. So goosebumps and all, just totally frozen out of nowhere, and don't just be like, I don't want to be bothered, don't touch me. And down there, it's just going to be drier than a saltine cracker. It's just not going to work. And then it's going to be painful and uncomfortable for that individual. So, that's definitely some uncomfortable truths that, a lot of people ain't going to talk about. You might not even notice it, but I'm giving you some signs that you could look out for yourself, and even for, whoever you with and your friends and family. But the hidden silence, the hidden silent grief, some of the other behaviors that come into play, like you could be smoking one blunt a day, a little something before you go to bed, something lightweight. Next thing you know, you blowing down 2 L's. Then you blowing down 3 L's. You done pattern done went up. You like, damn, what's going on, cuz? So, that's something to look at. You see a uptick in certain behaviors that you normally wouldn't be doing as much, that is already unhealthy, but now you all the way in type of shit. You got that going on. You got you staring into space, you zoned out, kids talking to you, you don't even want to, you can't hear nothing, they just looking at you like, you hear me, you just like going, you sit up there driving, taking long time to get home because you don't want to be in the space with your person you with. You could be going because you just need somebody that understands you and that you could talk to and process what you got going on where you might not feel comfortable at home, so you still grieving that aspect on top of what you already grieving. This is why people be stepping out too in relationships, because people be so disconnected from their partner because they not communicating, or even if they is communicating, maybe your partner just can't provide what you need, and that's a piece of the grief that gets silent that people don't really talk about either. You may need to roll out. Can you really accept that they can't provide that for you, and that they're just not good for you right now for what you got going on? These are things nobody thinks about as grief. Understand that with death comes rebirth and comes growth. Like, it's just, this is the beauty of life. It will be reborn again. It's going to come again. You have to know that, trust that in your heart of hearts. And when I say that, I'm saying that in the form of that pain may feel like death to you at that time, but you not gonna die. You gonna be all right. This is part of the life cycle process of growing and healing. Learning to accept these things as part of life and growing and tapping into the person you need to become. This is why you have to go through these things. And having a good support system is critical. Like, to be able to have a good therapist that you could call, that you need to check in with, or having a good group of friends. Having good friends is hard to come by, and if you get any, please try to work through your issues and stay close by, because it's hard to get good friends. If you still got your parents and you able to talk to them and process with them and get some, elder wisdom and guidance, definitely do that for sure. I'm big on getting wisdom from the older individuals. Like, I'm huge on that. Like, I live for that. They got more knowledge and wisdom, even futuristically, that you thinking they talking nonsense because they old, but they know what they talking about. They have long range vision. They have eyes that can just see certain things we just can't see at times in a certain stage and age that we in. Death isn't death that comes after the death that comes with growth. Grief isn't just about losing people. It's about losing pieces of yourself that don't belong and resonate with you anymore. This is why you're shedding those old layers of skin, because now you're being reborn. Like, that person that is no longer with you, that you love, they was part of the process. Take all the knowledge and wisdom that they have given you, and you work with that, because that was to help you grow. You got to pay attention to the things, the information that you be receiving. Then you have let's say you have there's parts of you that was built on pain, confusion, and survival. They begin to die as you grow in understanding. Okay? That's grief too. To death of old beliefs, old patterns, old identities. The isolation and silent grief is profound to me. The isolation and grief, when you're going through what you're going through, right? You get low. You isolate. You go in hermit mode. You're trying to process everything that's going on and what you're dealing with. Other people around you may not understand that. Your body, your spirit, your soul will let you know if you should even be telling them what you got going on. And this is if you're paying attention and you having discernment. You determine if you need to be telling them. Because anytime you just telling people what you got going on, some people really happy that you got this going on. And then there's some people that really are concerned, that really want to be there for you and really help you. So you already learning how to start watching and how people moving and stuff and what you feeling with stuff, because you got to figure out who you can trust as you're going through this grieving process, because you're very delicate right now, and as you're delicate, you're also very hardened around the exterior, but you're very fragile internally. So you could stop reaching out because you don't want to feel outcasted or misunderstood, because people definitely, you get low because you trying to process what you got going on. People think you don't want to be bothered with them and all that, and people got to understand it ain't even about them. It's about you and what you got going on, of trying to heal and understand yourself. Everybody not supposed to be a part of that process. This is why I say your spirit will let you know if you need to be calling a certain person and tell them what you got going on so they can be part of this healing journey, versus calling somebody and just telling them whoever anything just because you just need somebody to talk to. You got to be careful and you got to be easy with that. Silent grief becomes emotional isolation and withdrawal from your friends and family and even yourself, because you're trying to figure out what's really good. You don't even know what's going on right now. You don't even know. You just know you don't feel right, and you're not happy with these feelings and emotions and these thoughts that's ruminating, holding space all in your head. Some coming in like a fleeting thought, some flying out, but it's too much. And you cannot seem to break this shit down into pieces to pinpoint what's really happening. That pain, that silent grief becomes so wild that you be in the house by the bed, pulling, screaming, yelling from your soul, the depths of your soul, asking God, please take this shit away. Please. I'll do anything. Just get me out of this feeling. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to be yearning and mourning over this situation. That silent cry. That silent cry is that deep cry. That cry that there will never be able to have somebody experience that cry with you. It's that private cry, that deep cry that only God and the angels know. That cry that you can really feel the angelic wings wrapped around you. You can feel the softness of the feathers around you, the protection, the level of safety and security and unconditional love and support is top tier, because that spiritual and that faith beyond yourself or deep within you, either way you want to go with it, is what is helping you survive and navigate in that silent grief, as it helps you transmute the pain into positivity and learning lessons to teach others, period. The dual nature of silence can be very sacred. It's that time to really mourn, and people don't understand, as you're mourning the grief and loss that you're enduring, whether it's a relationship, a job, family, dreams, goals, hopes, dreams, that you've always wanted, a life that you thought you was going to have, and you either just haven't achieved it yet, or you feel it's just non-existent anymore. These things are brutal to understanding that the dual nature of silence can be very sacred, and it's that time to reflect and mourn and listen and go within. Okay? It's that silence can also be suppression. When you prevent expression, avoid feeling and storing pain in your body. There must be balance silence for healing versus silence that harms. Grief can be a portal to the soul alignment that is needed for you. When you finally understand that, what you've been carrying, you begin the work of letting it go. Healing starts when you acknowledge the grief you never gave language to.